Welcome back to Meg's Mysteries. This one will surely give you a chill. It's called Ice Princesses. January 14th, on a cold winter's day, Nev and her best friend Maisie were walking in the early morning hours to work at the local bakery. The weather was getting so bad and it was hard to see. The snow was coming down so hard and the temperature was dropping. They finally made it to the bakery, and Mr. Thomas was in the back and came out to open the door. He saw the snow-covered girls and said, "You two look like two ice princesses. Come in and get warmed up." Nev rushed over to the heater, Maisie right behind her. He told them, "Take your time and warm up. Doesn't look like we're getting too many customers today." Finally, the girls were all warmed up and got busy with their jobs and prepared the dessert display. Hours later, still no customers, and it was still snowing hard. Mr. Thomas told them, "I guess we'll close up for the day. No one in their right mind will come out in this weather. I'll take you both home." Maisie said, "That's okay, we're only a block away, but thanks, we'll be all right." He said, "Are you sure?" Nev said, "Don't worry. It's not worth you digging out your car for us. It's only a block away." He told them, "Call me when you get home." So the girls bundled up and they left. As they walked, Maisie said, "I'm so cold, it's like we're frozen ice pops." Nev laughed, and that was the last laugh she ever did. Almost an hour later, Mr. Thomas phoned their home. They never called him. They were never seen or heard from again. He dug out his car and started a search of the neighborhood, and their families also searched, but no sign of the girls. So then the police were called in. They said maybe they got a ride to a friend's house. It's only been a couple hours, but Maisie's father insisted something was wrong. They would have called, and in the snowstorm they would have known that they all would be worried. The last person to see them was Mr. Thomas, and he was questioned, and that was it. Where did they go, or why haven't they called? The storm continued for days. The police finally took it serious, and so the search just went cold. A homeless guy was questioned, and he said, "I saw the girls leave the bakery and go past the drugstore, but then they vanished by the dead-end alley." He saw no cars on the road, only snowplows. A month went by, and they were never seen again. February 14th. More snowstorms, severe weather forecast. Get ready for a doozy, the weatherman said. A young school teacher, Anna Graves, was getting ready for work, and she was listening for the school closings, but her school will never be closed. How stupid are they? I'll get there and they'll send us home again just like the last time. Sure, the people in charge, they're not the ones who have to struggle to get to work, and the poor students who have to get to school. And what about us teachers? But they don't care, do they? They have so many number of snow days, and they insist on using them. All they have to do is look outside and see how bad it is. She was complaining to her old basset hound, Henry. He just looked up at her with his big sad eyes, and then he went back to sleep. She said, "Some companion you are, nice and warm and safe. Okay, I'll see you later." She lived close to the school and always walked. Rain, sleet, or snow, the teacher must go through, just like the mailman. Anna bundled up and left food and water for Henry and went out into the blizzard. As she was leaving, her neighbor, Mrs. Grand, said, "How are you getting to work?" Anna told her, "I'm walking," and then she went out the door. Mrs. Grand yelled after her, "Be careful, it's getting nasty out there." Anna just smiled and waved and thought to herself, "You think?" But then she thought, that wasn't very nice. Mrs. Grand was always so nice to her. So she said, "I'll see you later, Mrs. Grand." Those were the last words anyone ever heard from her. She never made it to school, and it was only 2 blocks away. Again, the police were called in a search, but no luck. One more case that went cold. March 14th. What's the saying? March comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb? Well, folks, another storm is brewing, cold winds and icy rain. New York City is a pretty dreary place in the wintertime. I can't wait for April spring. So you'll all be careful out there, the weatherman's voice came over the radio. Paula was having her morning coffee and listening to the weather report. The phone rang. Her mother was calling. Are you going out in this weather? Paula said, Yes, Mom, I have to go in today. Just because it's nasty out, people still get sick or hurt. A nurse has to go no matter what. Her mother said, But it's so bad out there. Paula just said, The hospital is around the corner. That's why I moved here. Her mother said, You should have stayed here with me, but no, you had to move out on your own. I need stuff from the store. Can you pick it up after work? Yes, Mom, Paula said. She always took care of her mom, even if they didn't get along. I'll be getting out around 5, she told her, and her mother just hung up on her. So much for motherly love. Paula got ready for work, but never showed up at the hospital. Police were called by her mother in a panic. The search was another dead end. Police and detectives on the case were baffled. All these young girls missing with no clue of what had happened, and their poor families had no closure for them. The only thing in common was ice, snow, rainstorms, and the date, the 14th of the month. Then in the spring, it all stopped. Spring turned into summer, then to fall, then the winter approached again. November 14th. The first storm of this year. Heavy rains turned to ice. Weather forecast. Gloomy and cold. Get your boots and your umbrellas out. It's gonna be a nasty one. That was the weatherman on the TV. It's gonna get worse before it gets better, folks. Bob said to his wife, Tell April to dress accordingly. April was his 16-year-old daughter and getting ready for school. Her dad called out to her, April, I'll take you into school today. April said, No, it's okay. I'm meeting some friends, and we can walk. It's so close. He said, Are you sure? She said, Yes, Dad, I'll be fine, but thanks. That was the last time they saw her. Detective James Hart and Detective Sarah Bloom got the call. It's happening again. The Storm Missing Girl case, as it was named. Another missing girl with no clues. James said to his partner, What can we do? They all just vanished into thin air. The only connection is the winter storms and the date. It's like whoever's doing this just takes off in the nice weather and starts up on the 14th of the month when the weather's turning bad. How are we going to connect the dots in this case? Sarah just looked at him and had no clue. The news about the Storm's missing girl case was on the news, and a warning to all girls and women to take extra precautions. No one was safe. All different ages and types were missing. December 14th. One afternoon, a young girl was walking to the local store. A storm was coming, heavy rains, and her grandmother needed milk and bread before it got worse. As she was walking, she noticed a sign, Lost Puppy. The puppy's name was Pearl and was missing, and the weather was turning very bad, very fast. As she walked past the sign on the telephone pole, she spotted the puppy by the alley. Wow, what luck! The dog was right near the sign. I'll go find her. She took down the phone number from the poster and followed the puppy into the alley. She turned the corner into the alley and saw the puppy by a pickup truck. That's the last thing she ever saw. She was reported missing from her grandmother. That week, in the storage unit, a middle-aged man was wheeling in a chest freezer. The employee noticed him many times before with large freezers. He asked him once, "What's with all the freezers?" The man just smiled and said, "I buy old and used freezers and restore them sometimes, and I keep the parts in the storage unit." The employee thought nothing of it. Then he was a paying customer for a long time, so what could it hurt? Until today, Al heard the news about the missing girl case. He said to his boss, "I think there's something going on with that guy. He comes in all hours, stays a long time, always makes new deliveries of a freezer every month. His electric is always on. So should I call the police?" His boss just said, You watch too many crime shows, but do what you want. Just don't make any trouble. You know he's a paying customer." So Al called the police, and the detectives picked up the call. Howard Halstead lived only a few blocks from the storage unit. Very convenient. James said, "At least let's check him out." They got the name and address from the storage area records. They checked the guy's work. He was an appliance repairman, but he was retired now. And also, they checked his movements at the times of the missing girls. So they went to question him, and he broke down and confessed it all. He told them, "I'm glad it's over. And then he gave us the keys to the storage unit. Even though he gave the keys to us, we still got a search warrant, and a team was called in to open it up. What they found was horrible. It was full of freezers, chest freezers, and uprights, and each one had a frozen princess in them, frozen in time, all beautiful and young forever, dressed in gowns and tiaras." He told them, "I preserved their beauty in this unit. I couldn't help myself." The oldest one was his own daughter. He said, "She was sick and died at home. She died January 14th in a snowstorm. I couldn't get her to the hospital in time. I just couldn't bury her. I had to preserve her beauty. So I dressed her up like a princess that I always called her. Then I saw those perfect young girls and had to keep their beauty. I couldn't help myself. I didn't want them to get old and age. I didn't want their youth to fade away. I also had to keep them close so I can watch over them. I kept them and watched over them. Was that so wrong?" Then he started to laugh, and then he cried. We all knew he was crazy. Finally, the murder stopped. No more missing girls. The families got their beloved ones back and had to sadly say goodbye to them. But they had closure now. He was put away in a psych hospital, and with any luck he'll get some help, but he'll never get out. So the case is closed, just by luck. Al got his 10 minutes of fame on the TV. All he said was, "I'm glad I watch all that mystery and crime shows," and then he smiled over to his boss. So you see, if you see something suspicious, would you call it in? Be aware, a killer could be anyone. Hope you all enjoyed this one. More to come on Meg's Mysteries.